What is up, YouTube? This is Kind Cannon from Arguably Georgia Sports, and today we are going to be coming out with our third video of the day and talking about the college football playoff rankings and what our opinions are on it. So,
all right, so we're going to start out just looking at the ones from last week and saying who we think our top four, or, the top 6 or 7 should be. I'm going to start out saying I absolutely hate having Clemson in front of Miami. Miami's undefeated for one. Clemson really
that'll all sort itself out in the ACC title game, though.
I know it will. But it's still Miami's clearly the better team, blowing out Notre Dame.
But they have some games like against Georgia Tech where they really should have lost.
But that's earlier in the season, and that's kind of the way they play.
Like 2 weeks ago.
They burn you out and just grind you down, and they pull out in the fourth quarter. That's
not what happened against Georgia Tech. They got a tip pass and got lucky.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's be honest. They had a miracle. And North Carolina, they came very close to losing that game.
But I think they should be switched. But the win. That's the hardest thing to do in college football.
I agree
with
you.
Win.
If they're undefeated, they should be number 2.
And then I also think that Wisconsin should flip with Oklahoma. And maybe Auburn, Georgia, but maybe not.
Wisconsin is number 4.
Auburn's just a hot team. And everybody's picking them to beat Alabama. I am too. But
if they beat Alabama and win the SEC championship, they're making it in with 2 losses over Wisconsin, I think. Unless Wisconsin is 13-0. Unless Wisconsin is 13-0, then yeah. So
I don't know though.
But I'm switching Auburn, and so I'm moving Oklahoma to 6 and putting Auburn at 5.
That's bold.
Just because I don't think
move them from 10 to 5.
From 6 to 5.
Okay, yeah.
And then Oklahoma, I would drop down to 6, and Wisconsin's at 4. And Georgia stays at 7.
So you're not gonna put. Okay, so you're putting Oklahoma in front of Georgia.
Yes, right now.
Okay.
Right now, I think when it's all said and done, UGA would pass them if they both had 1 loss and won the conference championship.
All right, so that's both of us. So mine is Alabama, Miami, Clemson, Wisconsin, Oklahoma, Auburn, Georgia, and then yours is basically the same except you have Oklahoma.
I have
Oklahoma
Alabama,
and Auburn switched.
Alabama, Miami, Clemson. I put Miami at number 2. Wisconsin, Auburn, Oklahoma, Georgia.
Yep.
Ohio State.
No, I like Notre Dame in front of Ohio State. And then now we're going to talk about who we think is going to be in the top 4 at the end of the season, which is really hard to say because a lot of conference championships, if you win, you're in. If you lose, the other team is in. So I think that Auburn's going to beat Alabama in the Iron Bowl, and I'm not just saying that because they beat Georgia and they're the hot team. Yeah. Because I honestly think that Alabama's going down. They had Mississippi State, they had LSU, and they had A&M. You never see close games like that against Alabama. They will lose one, but they won't have close games except for that one. And then, so I say either Auburn or Georgia, but I think Georgia probably has the slight edge on that game. Okay. If they play again, just because of the momentum of everything, and Auburn's just going to be like, we already beat them before. And it's in the Georgia Dome. It's going to be a pretty even crowd, but I mean Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Yeah. Georgia Dome was imploded this morning.
Yeah. Okay, so this is these are.
And then so I have either Auburn or Georgia at number 1. Well, actually, no. Here, scratch that. If Miami wins the ACC, they're going to be number 1. If Clemson wins, then they're going to be number 2 after the SEC champion.
I'm going to say something that nobody's talking about. If Ohio State wins out and beats Wisconsin in the Big Ten title,
no,
they have a chance.
No, everybody's talking about it, and it's completely false. That is absolutely ridiculous. Their 2 losses are blowouts. Well, not blowouts. One of their 2 losses is a blowout.
Blowouts, actually. Iowa, they got just destroyed.
And
I'm not gonna say it happens.
They're 2 ups and downs. If
they blow out Wisconsin in the Big Ten title
their
game,
biggest win is probably 1 point against Penn State.
No,
demolishing
or Michigan State.
But they're 2 ups and downs.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, so these are my 4. I think number 1 is Clemson wins the ACC and gets the number 1 seed.
You put them number 1.
Just wait. Number 2 is going to be Wisconsin. I think they're going to go undefeated and win.
Wisconsin, you're putting at number 2. Mm-hmm. People are saying if they go undefeated, and I mean this is very likely. If they go undefeated, they still get left out, and you're putting them at number 2 if they win out.
Number 3, Oklahoma. I think they win the Big 12.
So you're putting the SEC champion in the 4 spot.
That's because I'm putting Auburn in there.
Okay, that makes sense.
I'm putting Auburn with 2 losses. So yeah.
So you think Auburn's going to beat Alabama and then Georgia again?
Yes.
They probably have the toughest path to the playoff out of everybody in the country.
But I think they can do it. I think they're good enough to do it.
See, of the SEC, I think Georgia has the best chance to win. Because they have the easiest road. Mm-hmm. They have the best chance. Mm-hmm. So that's why I would have to put UGA in. At this point, I'm not saying, they just have the easiest path. It's harder to bet. It's harder to pick Alabama or Auburn.
Mm-hmm. But one of those teams is going to win and going to have the same path as Georgia.
That's true. But we're not at that point yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Next week, I would say whoever wins that game has the better chance, unless it's Auburn. So if Alabama, if they beat Auburn, they have the best chance.
Yeah.
But they might not beat Auburn. So that's why I put Georgia.
And then I'm going to put, and my number 5 team is going to be, my number 5 and 6 team is going to be Miami and Georgia. I think they're going to play in a bowl game, and that's going to be a really good game.
So, Georgia plays UCF, I guess.
No, I think Miami and Georgia, because that's going to be a big ratings. I think it's going to be it.
That would be okay. So here's a scenario. So I'm putting. And
then I think UCF.
I'm putting Miami number 1, Georgia number 2, Oklahoma 3, and Wisconsin 4.
So wait. So Miami number 1.
Yep.
Georgia number 2.
Yep.
Oklahoma number 3 and Wisconsin number 4. Okay.
And then my number 5, I don't even need to do that. It's going to be Clemson and Alabama. Or Auburn. No, Alabama, because if you have 3 losses, you're not going to be number 5. But I think, let's just say this. Miami and Georgia both win.
Okay.
Miami beats Georgia. You know how bad that would make the AD feel? That he just fired Mark Richt and he beat Georgia in the national championship.
Oh, yeah.
That's got to stink. And, I mean, even seeing them do so well, he's got to feel, oh, what am I doing? I mean, granted, Georgia's dominant this year, but...
yeah, and I think that's going to conclude our video, right?
Yeah, actually, I just want to talk about one more thing. I have several things about the committee that I despise. One, they're only counting Clemson's loss as a half loss because they lost their quarterback. If you're any kind of dominant, you should be able to beat Syracuse.
Yeah, it was a freak game.
And it's not because of their quarterback anyway. It's because of their defense.
I mean, people say for a reason, like, oh, this team would win 19 times out of 20, where that was the 20th time. I mean, it's...
Yeah, I know it is, but it's still, it's not, I don't think it was about Syracuse. I think it was about Clemson. It was about their defense.
No, I think it was more about Syracuse. Syracuse offense was like
their quarterback was on fleek.
Yeah.
But,
don't say that.
But, I don't care if Syracuse played. I mean, I don't care how you lose. It should still count, and you should be forced to play the entire season. And another thing is, they're inconsistent. Last year, with Penn State, who had a more convincing argument to be in front of Ohio State than Auburn does for Georgia.
Yeah.
They had an extra win, conference championship, and a head-to-head. And they put in Ohio State over Penn State, which I think was completely wrong. And another thing, they don't value being undefeated enough.
Yeah.
Because the hardest thing to do in college football is to win and win consistently. And that's what Wisconsin and Miami have done.
They put plenty of value on undefeated at the end of the season.
But
as of now, I can kind of see what they're doing with Wisconsin. If Wisconsin wins out,
but look at Oklahoma.
Wisconsin,
they lost to Iowa State, who is actually a decent team. But then Clemson is just number 2. They shouldn't be number 2. It should be Miami.
At the end of the year, if Oklahoma and Wisconsin both went out, Wisconsin's going in there over Oklahoma any day.
Yeah.
Any day. At the end of the year, they're going to count it.
Yeah, because, I mean, all Oklahoma has is Baker Mayfield. So,
which is actually, I think that's the West Virginia game is the game you need to watch out for.
Yeah, because he's not starting.
Yeah.
And then, they're too confident in everything. It's only Baker Mayfield and nobody else. So next year, Oklahoma's going to stink. And, so I feel like the committee's not doing a great job. And they also value 1-point wins and losses too much.
Mm-hmm.
Penn State earlier this year lost to Ohio State, who was the number 8 team at the time,
mm-hmm.
and Penn State was number 2. They lost to them by 1 point, and they dropped all the way down to 8.
Yeah, that was.
And Ohio State bumped up to number 4.
Okay, one thing I thought that was ridiculous. I think this is actually.
And they were counting Georgia's win over Notre Dame to jump Alabama, which I think was wrong.
Was that the college football rankings or was that the AP poll?
That was the AP poll. Okay.
Well, and the AP poll has done something ridiculous too this year, which was
the AP poll is never
when they had Ohio State in front of Oklahoma.
That
was both had one
the
loss.
College football playoff rankings did that too.
When they both had one loss.
Yes, that I hated because they're saying head to head matters if all other things are equal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All other things were not equal.
Yeah, and I mean,
and the same thing with Auburn, Georgia. Head to head only matters if all other things are equal. Mm-hmm. Now, granted,
that's not true.
Now. That's what they're saying. Mm-hmm. That's what all of the, but granted here it was more of a bigger win. Well, actually no, it was about the same.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, determining who gets in head to head, yes, but not overall.
But no.
And so I think that's gonna wrap it up.
Yep, that will. I'm done ranting.
Thank you for listening, and as always, but not really as always, but now always. Bye.